Hello and welcome to another episode of Tales from a Professional Nerd. My name is Bryan Steele and I will be your nerd today and any other day that you watch one of my silly little shares. Hello everybody. I hope you had a great week. Let's just dive on in because the week in Bryan kind of bleeds directly into the topic of the day, which will be Pax Unplugged 2024. Okay, so we'll tick off the easy stuff first. Hobbying, I've done none. I wish that I could say that I managed to get a bunch of painting done. Now, I will say this: when I was doing some spring cleaning, I guess winter cleaning, Christmas cleaning, I was doing some cleaning, and I found two very, very, very cool miniatures, large miniatures that I forgot that I had, or thought I lost, or thought I sold, or whatever. One is a prototype tier 3 Shang dragon, like a foo dragon from Wrath of Kings. Right before Wrath of Kings became got phased out over at CMON, we were planning on doing tier 3 baddies, tier 3 units, basically these big epic, pieces, and one of the armies, the ones that were very themed on like mythological wuxing, China and Japan. They were going to receive this big standing like Wulong dragon, and we got a prototype made for it. There were I want to say there's maybe like 4 or 5 of them made. I could not tell you where they ended up. I know that this one was a parting gift for when I left the company. And I thought I had lost it. I thought that it was gone. But I have relocated it, and I think I might actually put a paint job on it. And who knows, maybe I will, donate it to charity, or maybe sell it at one of the charity auctions, since it is an extremely limited edition figure. I just have to take the time to actually put a paint job on it. And then the other one I found is the giant scale unpainted Tiamat from WizKids, and I definitely want to throw a paint job on that, and probably put it on eBay and see what's up. I'm inspired. I have not gotten to it yet, hence why I said I haven't done any hobbying. But it is definitely it's sitting over on my desk, waiting for me to brush all the dust off of it and make sure that its primer is primed, and start the process of painting a dragon or two. We'll see. I got an itch. We'll see how that goes. Let's see, what else? Gaming, apart from stuff that I managed to do while I was at PAX Unplugged, I have not done any. I haven't really even played any video games. I am very busy. My fourth quarter bleeding into first quarter for work is a very, very busy time for Bryan, and just getting busier. I have a hard time saying no to projects because it helps keep a roof over my head and food in my family's belly. But it does mean that I often have to work on 3, 4, 5, or 7 things at one time, which is what I'm doing right now. Apart from that, haven't really done any gaming. Personal wise, I did manage to get back to the gym today. My tennis elbow is getting better, but every once in a while I'll go to pull something or pick something up. I went to go pick up my laundry basket the other day, and it almost knocked me over. Not because it had like 1,000 pounds of laundry in it, just because when I went to go pick it up, my left arm just shot. I almost dropped it and almost it was almost a tragic tale. But yeah, I did manage to get back to the gym once this week. I am going to try at least to get in once a week, 2 or 3 if I can. But I want to stay up on it. While I was at Pax Unplugged, I really was feeling my joints and feeling my muscles from standing and walking and hotel beds and whatnot. And I really want to avoid. I want to avoid what happened to me at Origins like 2 years ago, when I got back and realized just how heavy I had gotten and just how out of shape I was. So I still will. I know that I need the extra time and the extra sleep and all that, but I need to be able to try and find a way to at least get 1 or 2 days in a week. Also on a personal level, but the day that we are filming this is actually Natalie's 42nd birthday. I don't know if I'm supposed to tell people age, but oh well, we're adults, big deal. It's going to be a low-key birthday because we are dealing with a new puppy, and we've got our Christmas party this weekend, and there's just a lot going on. But she has requested. I made her birthday breakfast of crepes, which I did. A couple of lemon curd crepes, a couple of homemade plum jam crepes, and 1 Manuka honey crepe. I managed to buy a couple ounces of Manuka honey recently, and I wanted to give them a shot. I think it was very good. I don't know. It might be too much honey for her, but I think they're fantastic. And then tonight we will have one of the things that we've got recently is basically, unless there's something special for someone's birthday, we just basically ask, hey, where do you want to go to eat? Like, where do you want to, anywhere in town? And she decided that she wants me to swing past the World Market and make some home Korean food. So that's what I'm doing tonight, is to make some Korean stuff. But yeah, so it's happy birthday to you, Natalie. I hope it is a good one. She's fighting kind of a sinus head cold right now, so I hope it is a good one. But we gotta get her to shake it before this weekend, because we're having a bunch of people over, and I don't want her to be ill for our party. Let's see. It's personal. It's work. It's hobby. Or that was personal, gaming, and hobby. Now let's get into work, because it does bleed directly into PAX Unplugged. So I mentioned doing a lot. I'm doing a lot. I signed on for a long-term adventure. It's the deadline's not for a long time, but I did have to do a little bit of planning to help out Alex over at Gamehole with his newly forged Wardens of the East Marches organized play system through the Gamehole production company. It's a D&D 5e type spin-off sort of connected games, and he reached out and said that he wanted to know if I would be part of it, and I was like, you know what, I'd gladly pen an adventure for you in my spare time. Yeah, so that's gonna be a ton of fun. Obviously, I don't have to start writing it for a while because it's not due for several months, but I at least kind of like wrote down the outline, put some header notes and what I want to bring to the table. I got all that stuff jotted down. I am officially in the conversion and design part of the Wrath of the Sea Lich for Luke Gygax and the Gaxworks company, which It's Shadow Dark, so it's very rules light and very straightforward as far as like how the information is delivered. But there's a little bit of a challenge there because I still have to figure out how to, you don't want, just because something is streamlined or simpler, it doesn't mean that it has to be, rudimentary, or it doesn't have to be a basic, oh, here comes a goblin, fight the goblin. Like there's ways to build complexity into a system that happens to be streamlined. And that's what I am getting to do with a couple of classes and a whole bunch of critters. So I'll be excited for moving forward on that. I got word back on my first wave of creations for Point One Games. Nathan is very pleased. So far, no notes. Awesome. Have not yet started putting pen to paper on the Evil Dead 2 role-playing game. While the Kickstarter is still going, I think we're waiting to see how well it does, how much it generates as far as stretch goals and stuff before we start diving in and splitting up the work. Let's see, what else? Started doing more the monster designs for the Dungeon in a Box guys, their Wildkin, for their setting and supplement. And then always working on Shadowrun fiction. I just received back a bunch of the edit red lines for Night Court, my previous book, that I will need to go in and ratify changes and things. I'll probably start doing that next week. I gotta cross a couple other things off my list before I dive in on that. Let's see what else. Xeogenesis continues to be good. I'm doing a deep dive on the actual force lists right now. Because you never know when a unit just doesn't feel right, or maybe there's like some kind of like little bit about how the unit works that doesn't that makes it almost impossible to fit into a force, or the little things. So I'm doing a close microscope look at the two starter forces. And I'll probably get some proxies on the table, and really, if I see something if I see something that looks sketchy, like I'm like, I don't know, maybe if I take too many of those, this it's definitely going to topple the power structure of the force or whatever. But I think it will help in the long run if I see something that I can't put my finger on, to throw them on the table, get a game in, and see if my feelings were just kind of a knee-jerk, or if maybe there is something that is highlighted by getting some actual gameplay with them. Warzone is going swimmingly. We are so freaking close to being able to start packing up boxes and sending stuff out. We got. I'll talk a little bit more about the Wargos. Wargos? The hell's a Wargos? Warzone progress. Oh, that's how that happened. The Warzone progress. I'll talk a little bit more about that. About our booth and stuff that we revealed at PAX Unplugged. Which we'll get into that in a second. And then, my everyday, all day Evil Genius stuff is progressing nicely. I got some notes back about the Starship events, which is really the last chunk that needs to get taken care of before the book can really head off toward editing. The open beta document is going to receive an update that it will include a bunch of minor changes, little add-ons, that kind of thing. Kind of the stuff that from the last 6 months of playtesting that we have revealed. we will change that up and add that in probably first of the year, or when I get back from the end of the year shutdown. So probably on like the 6th, January 6th. Yeah, so that'll be cool. Get more love back to the intergalactic hero stuff. We just released Lumps of Coal, my holiday adventure, on drive-thru and on our website directly. So far, so good. People seem to be enjoying the concept and the storylines and the like. We announced last week the first cinematic source book that we like fully licensed cinematic source book that we are going to be working with in 2025 for Everyday Heroes is Return of the Living Dead. We are going to be able to work with the license holder to be able to do material from all 3 existing movies, and also draw from the 4th movie, which is not actually out yet. They're apparently they're making it right now. It's supposed to be out next year. It's always fun to work hand in hand with creatives. And I'm a huge fan of the Return of the Living Dead series. Bittersweet, I'm too busy to help a lot on the upcoming product. But I do plan on at least sticking my putting my thumbs on it somewhere, because it is a great property and a great license, and I want to make sure that that I am involved in some way, because I would hate to miss that opportunity. Yeah, and then we're kicking off a bunch of other adventures for the Patreon, and working on an app that is kind of like our own rules depository that will eventually allow you to make automated character sheets and all that kind of stuff. Very excited for the future, and just moving forward and hoping for progress that we can talk about and that we can show in the weeks to come. All right, well, let's talk about PAX. PAX Unplugged is a show that is predominantly pop culture and board games. Really, I mean, there is some role-playing game stuff there, and there were several rooms dedicated to organized play systems or some of the larger like play organizations. But overall, I do believe that PAX Unplugged is a very difficult show to try and run role-playing games at. They don't do a ticketed entry system, which means there's no good way to make sure that people come to their games, even if they sign up, because it didn't cost them anything, and it is a very free-form atmosphere of just go, or maybe I don't, or whatever, and that's fine for a board game, because if someone sits down for a few minutes and gets the feel for things and then goes, all right, cool, I gotta go do a thing, everyone else at the table goes, oh, okay. I mean, yeah, it might change something, but more often than not, it's just a demo. For a role-playing game, our events are 4 hours long and require a certain number of players. The danger factor and stuff is built off the number of the characters that show up. So it's people who sign up but then don't show up, people who show up but then go, oh, this is that long, I'm only here for 45 minutes. It's just not conducive to a good role-playing game show. And I think a lot of that has to do with that ticketing system. I know PAX is trying to do it to be more loose and cool, about, players can come and go as they please, and, we don't want to charge you for stuff. And I do get it, but it makes my job a lot harder if I'm trying to run events at that place. That being said, we had a lot of attention at the booth. We had a lot of people coming and go and talking about, especially after the press release for Return of the Living Dead. We had a bunch of people come by and ask about how that's going to work. We had some press people come by and do some videos with Haley. It was a good show for nice exposure. We didn't have anything new to sell. We were just kind of selling past product and doing partnership product with Game Castle. So it was not that kind of show for us. Combined with the fact that our game room that they gave us was on the absolute farthest end away from everything else in the entire convention. We didn't get a lot of walk-up traffic either, which is something in a convention that requires no sign-ups and no ticketed, no registry tickets. You kind of require, you really want people to walk by. You want people to go, hey, what's going on in here? Hey, you want to sit down and play? And that didn't happen either. Our event room was very slow. We managed to run some events. The people who were in those events had a good time and went to the booth and bought books and stuff. But it was definitely an eye opener as to if we are to go back to PAX Unplugged. There has to be better ways to do what we were trying to do, or we need to go and try and set up in the open demo area in the main expo hall. It means longer hours, it means weirder shifts, and it means probably having to write some special little fast turnaround 2-hour scenarios, because the 4-hour games we did not, even the people who went onto our app to sign up, we had a bunch of people just not show up, not care, and that's because they've got no stake in the game. I also firmly think that we ran almost all of our events that we ran were the licensed events, things like Pac-Ram and Kong and Total Recall, and we scheduled a lot of those, and we didn't schedule a lot of our own. We scheduled some lumps of coal. We scheduled a hijacking of the Eurostar, which is a train heist style adventure set in just regular everyday heroes, but we didn't run any of our organized play stuff. We felt that PAX Unplugged being a pop culture show, that it would be better served to do a bunch of the licensed materials, and I actually think that backfired on us. I think that there are a lot of people out there that are extremely interested in just getting in and telling their character story and playing the system rather than the license, and I think that was a misstep, and hopefully we won't do that again if we go back to PAX Unplugged. But yeah, so as collectively, I think as for Evil Genius is concerned, it was an interesting show, and we got to talk to a lot of people, and we got a lot of press and a lot of FaceTime with people. I would have liked to have more events fire. I would have liked to have more people playing in places where people could see, and see people enjoying themselves. But it was still an entertaining show. It was still a solid showing. I just think there's definitely room for improvement, coming from the perspective of a small role-playing game company. But enough of the general vibe. Let's talk about some specifics. I got to play my mysterious agent character for a few hours on an actual play podcast, the Redemption HQ guys, the premier Everyday Heroes podcast. They invited me out to. I thought it was initially. I thought it was just going to be an interview, but it turned out that we got to play for a handful of hours, which was a blast. Had a great time. And then when it was over, it kind of turned into a little bit of an interview, where they asked me some questions about my history and stuff that I would like to do with Intergalactic Heroes. Just it was a really good time. It was nice to get down to get and sit and talk to those guys. One of the podcast hosts I've never actually met in the flesh. It was nice to meet Harlan. It was a good time. It was a nice way of capping off my Saturday that day. I got to do some live streaming with Catalyst Game Labs to talk about Shadowrun Fiction. Also got to do some live stream play as Hollywood for the World of Shadows. But we were using playtest unfinished rules for Shadowrun Anarchy 2.0. Shadowrun Anarchy is the more streamlined, more camera-friendly Shadowrun system. I don't want to say waters down is not the right word. It turns a very crunchy system into a mildly crunchy mechanic, but primarily just one mechanic, and then a lot of it is the game master kind of telling you which set of dice that you're going to roll, and it's not the back and forth equation of I gain an edge, I spend an edge, I get 2 more edges, I do it goes how many of this successes you roll against me. It was still a work in progress. I mean, we definitely ran into some stuff that we went, okay, let's make note of that as designers, but it was fun. We had a good time, and it accidentally really worked in Rem. Rem did an amazing job, and accidentally worked in this sort of prequel story into the events that take place in World of Shadows Season 2, which I believe we were told I think is coming out in January, which I'll be super excited. I'm sure I'll be psyched to let you guys know that those are going live, and you can go see me be a elven gunslinger Lothario in 2025. A lot of good stuff. Speaking of the Shadowrun guys, had a nice. It was sadly too short, but I did have a nice sit-down talk with the editor-in-chief over the fiction editor, the head of fiction over there, John Hefner's, and Helfers, John Helfers. Let's call him Hugh Hefner. And now I want to put him in a smoking jacket with a pipe. John Helfers, and had a great chat with him to talk about kind of some of the future stuff that's going on. Talk about some of the edits on the last book. Just in general, it was just a really good time to get to have those sorts of conversations and such. That was awesome. And then I think one of the other big moments was over at the Warzone Eternal booth. We revealed a bunch of stuff. So not only did one of our playtesters and fans, a guy by the name, he goes by Camrock. Camrock brought a fully 3D printed and painted. It's a Howler. It's the Howler. It's a big Bauhaus tank. It's massive. And while it's not something that we were planning on ever making rules for, maybe in a scenario or something, it was just cool to see next to our models and this just giant monster that he's creating. But we did get to reveal a couple of things that we got to show some stuff off in person that some people didn't even know existed, and others, this was the first time we got to see it. For the first time for me, I got to see the print proof for the rule book. Looks great. It looks amazing. Matt did an absolutely breathtaking job on the layout inside that book. The art is, there's different styles of art, but there's some that harken back to the old Mutant Chronicles style role-playing game books. There's some that's newer, that's more like today's aesthetic. But there's the one thing that really did stand out to me, and I went, whoa, is there's a diagram so in Warzone Eternal, line of sight is true line of sight. Like barring any weird terrain rules, I look down, I see how much of the model I can see, and that based the level of obstruction. And that is always the thing that a lot of people get hung up on, because they're like, well, my model is standing like this, or my model's got his arms in the air. Like how do I work on line of sight? Well, there's a diagram of where to put the line of sight dots, the points on the model. And you could, and I have just verbally described how that line of sight point system works. But Matt built a multi-stage line of sight diagram that basically shows the same model standing 4 times with a different type of terrain in front of each one, to show how many of the dots are covered and how much obstruction that's going to be, whether or not it is easily one of the best progressive line of sight little demonstration charts that I've ever seen. And I've been doing this a long time. So Matt, if you listen to this, phenomenal work, bud. In fact, I think collectively, I think the rulebook might be one of the and I know, call me biased, but it might be one of the better looking and better laid out content miniature game rulebooks that's on the market. You heard it here first, folks. It's amazing. It really, really is. And I will be shocked if we do not submit that rulebook, whether it's for rules or just for the product itself, to the Ennies for next year. Or not the Ennies, the Origins Awards. Because it's really a classy book. It turned out really, really good. And that's just the one printed thing that I got to see. The models that Alex was able to bring. So I've seen STLs of all these things. I've seen the digital, back and forth, worked with the artists and stuff to tweak them and change them and make them come to life. But I had never seen them in person. So not only did Alex bring with the full squad of Mishima Samurai, which is their wave 2, their next unit release after the Kickstarter stuff, to help fill out kind of the point rankings. They are the basic most troop for Mishima. The Wolfbanes, we had to see all the Wolfbanes there displayed, including the 3 of them that were quite obviously styled after the cover of the Fury and the Klansman game. They look fantastic. I particularly like the Wolfbane with the Charger heavy machine gun. He's got great character in his face. He's like yelling into his microphone. It's really cool. Got to see the painted Immaculate Fury for Algaroth. Looks great. I already knew the Immaculate Fury is a great model, but seeing a studio level paint job on it, chef's kiss. Let's see what else was there. I got to see both sculpts of Dr. Diana for Cybertronic, the medic leader / support unit that will be very popular among Cybertronic players, I'm sure. And then the 2 other models that we showed off, that we made sure that no one knew about. A piece of terrain called the Reaver APC, which is a throwback to the old Armor Cast days, to the old first edition Mutant Chronicles stuff days. It is effectively a big, scary, bioorganic Jeep, like a Necrotech Jeep, or not Jeep, like Humvee. It's got like a cowcatcher prow, and then it's got a turret up on top that allows the mounting of a Nazgaroth heavy machine gun or a Hellblaster. And I've got rules for them. It is not something that you can just add to a force. It doesn't have a support cost. It doesn't have a deployment point cost. But we are planning on putting out some very cool, like, scenario rules for you to be able to use it as a Servants of Darkness player. And currently those rules are in playtest to see whether or not it is an interesting addition to publish those rules, or if we are just going to create the model and let the fans decide what to do with it. I think I like the rules personally. I mean, I know I'm biased. I made them. But I think that it's an interesting way to add larger vehicles to a skirmish game without tipping, without turning it into an army game, without turning it into, this thing's obviously going to win all day long every day because, it's a skirmish strike force versus a frickin' tank. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. So far, I'm very happy with the results, and I think the playtesters are too. And then the last model, probably the one that got the most attention, and the one that, other than Alex, myself, and the sculptor, nobody knew, is the Dark Legion Izogul, an iconic centaur-like necrotech construct with a big fistful of claws in one hand and the Blutarch hand cannon in the other. Alex, back at Origins last year, or I guess earlier this year, Alex was like, I've got a sculptor that I'd like to give some work to, and he's really good at big monsters. What should we do? And we started talking back and forth, and Alex landed on let's try and get him to make an Izogul, because that is one of those iconic figures. It's been in multiple board games. It's that piece of art, that particular piece of Bonner art. It is the Izogul is an icon in Warzone / Mutant Chronicles history. So we wanted to make sure we got one done, and with very few exceptions, it is being universally lauded as the best Izogul model that has been created. And that means a lot to us, to the sculptor, and eventually to the game, because while the Izogul is huge, is definitely the tallest model we've created, it is still, it's a roughly about as tough as a Nephirite, not quite as like thickly armored and such, but it's about the same kind of the same kind of ability to withstand damage, but it is still it is fast, is very, very fast, but the sheer size of the model makes it hard to hide, so it's going to take a lot of shots, and we're hammering out the final intent of a model like that. Is it a spearhead? Is it a drive directly into the enemy force? Is it a missile? Is it a fire and forget? I know it's going to die, but I'm going to send it out, let it take some shots, let it soak up some fire, but it's going to do some damage. Or is it more of a precision, like, flanking unit? Because it is really fast, and if it can, not that it sneaks up on anybody, but if you can use that speed and get to a model that's off by itself, maybe a wounded model that's hidden, that is hidden away to try and avoid being further gacked, the Izogul is really, really good at getting to someplace and doing its job. Whether or not it lasts beyond doing its job is questionable, and that's what the playtesters need to help us figure out. is what kind of tweaks and changes we need to make that rule set work. We've got time, obviously. The Kickstarter is just now getting ready to start fulfilling here very, very shortly. And then once that's done, Alex and I need to start talking about how we are going to, apart from our web store, what's the release schedule look like for things like Wolfbanes and Samurai and the Immaculate Furies, like the Wave 2, what's that gonna look like? How fast are we gonna put it out? And do we want to put them out in larger chunks or space them out so that way we're always having, there's a little bit of fresh love for at least some players every month? We've got to work on the logistics right now. We're very focused on just trying to get the fulfillment done and out the door, and get the happy backers and happy people playing. Because once that happens and the foundations are laid, Alex and I can easily work out the rest of the details. Right now, there's just a lot of chainsaws up in the air being juggled. But PAX Unplugged was very, very, it built up a lot of hype, it built up a lot of energy. We showed a lot of people the game and demoed a bunch. It was just really good. It was a very good show for Warzone Eternal, even though we weren't selling anything. It definitely, as probably, I mean, there's no way it wouldn't be the last show that we're doing before we actually start selling stuff. It was a nice way to say goodbye to the marketing only stage and hello to the let's get ready to get this game out to the world. So overall, I think PAX was a good show. From an Evil Genius standpoint, there are things that I wish were different. There are things that I wish PAX would simply do differently. I understand what they're trying to do and what they're trying to foster a feeling of amongst the populace, but from a small role-playing game focused creator, PAX is a hard one to justify. The cost to fly people out, the cost to GMs, it's just not, the time away from home, the time away from projects. It's a show that you've really got to kind of, weigh the scales out. And who knows, maybe next year, because we'll have the four new legendary books. IG8 should be out by then. We'll have Return of the Living Dead will be out. We'll have a lot more stuff that people haven't seen yet, and it might be really good exposure for those projects. But we'll see. The future has yet to be written. But yeah, so that was my PAX Unplugged. It was a good time. I love the fact that it's right next to Philadelphia's Chinatown, because I had amazing Chinese food almost every night. It is a very fun show. And at Bryan, and as the professional nerd, I had a blast. It was nice to see my convention family, and it was good to say goodbye to the 2024 convention season at that show. But professionally, like as the producer of sci-fi games over at Evil Genius, it felt very mismanaged. I don't want to throw the Penny Arcade guys under a bus or anything, but I don't know if how they have it set up, because it is set up very well for media and for board games. I don't know if it's that great of a setup for role-playing games, and we'll see. Who knows? They came by and asked us our opinions, and we filled out our forms and stuff. So we'll see how the future for that show goes. But you know, I got to go do the thing, and I came back. I'm not sick, you know, so which leads me directly into my ending to these videos is, you know, I did, so you should stay safe out there. Get your shots, wear a mask, you know, wash your hands, don't lick doorknobs, all of those things. And you just try and leave every room a little happier than when you got there, and I think the world would be a better place. So until next time, folks, please stay safe, have fun, and play some games. I'll see you next week.